The Wild Palm Beaches is brought to you by Discover the Palm Beaches.
Take a walk on the wild side in the Palm Beaches. Ecotourism is big business in Palm Beach County. From lions to loggerheads, our resident wildlife population is one of the things that makes the Palm Beaches a special place to visit. Aquatic adventures let you see our majestic sea turtles and tropical fish in living color, while our zoos, wildlife parks and natural areas give you an up-close look at everything from rhinos to alligators. It is here that nature is on full display. It's like nowhere else in the world. As one of the largest counties east of the Mississippi, we have lots of room to explore the wild animal encounters that are seemingly endless in the Palm Beaches. Ever wished you could swim with dolphins or get up close to a manatee? In the Palm Beaches, you can. From the Florida Everglades and the Loxahatchee River to the Intracoastal Waterway and the Atlantic Ocean, take a walk on the wild side and discover the great outdoors in a tropical paradise. Join me, James Currie, as we discover the Wild Palm Beaches.
On this episode of Wild Palm Beaches, we'll discover the world of the endangered manatee. These gentle giants are struggling to survive, and we'll meet the people that are helping protect and preserve these fascinating creatures. We'll also explore the art of nature with a local artist that calls the Palm Beaches home. Then it's time to get wild with Jada and Benji as they help release a rehabilitated great horned owl back into the wild. All this and more right here on the Wild Palm Beaches.
Manatees belong to an order of marine mammals called the sirenians. They come from an ancient word called a siren, and the old mariners used to believe that manatees were mermaids. So the sirenians comes from that word sirens, and there are actually 4 species of sirenians worldwide. 3 species of manatees and 1 species of dugong. The 3 species of manatees are the West Indian manatee, the West African manatee, and the Amazonian manatee. And right here in Florida, we have the West Indian manatee, but we also have a subspecies of that manatee here called the Florida manatee. Manatees can get up to 1,200, 1,300 pounds. In very rare cases, they can get up to 3,500, 3,600 pounds, up to 13 or 14 feet long. And the Florida manatee is the largest of all the manatee species. The Florida manatee is nearly entirely herbivorous, which means it feeds on aquatic plants, and they're very, very partial to something called seagrass. And that's another very important resource that is vital for us to protect, is for these manatees to be able to feed on seagrass for generations to come. Things like oil spills, pollution in the water, pesticides, these all have the ability to severely deplete the seagrass on which these manatees depend. Now, manatees can feed on up to 1/10 of their body weight in seagrass every day. So you can imagine that a manatee that weighs 1,000 pounds is eating up to 100 pounds of seagrass every single day. In some parts of the world today, they're actually still hunted and poached, which is really, really sad. But thankfully, places like Florida, places all over the world, manatees and dugongs are now very, very well protected. So we can hope that future generations can see manatees for many years to come. Everybody loves manatees, and one of the best places to see them in the Palm Beaches is at the Florida Power and Light Power Plant at Manatee Lagoon, especially in winter.
Manatee Lagoon is a free public facility where visitors can come meet manatees up close during the cold winter months and at any other time of year enjoy our new exhibits, our educational information that we have inside, do fun programming, and basically enjoy themselves while they're learning about the Lake Worth Lagoon and the marine creatures that call this area home. Since manatee season began, we've been eagerly waiting for a lot of manatees to huddle at Manatee Lagoon, and it's finally happening with the cold snap that we've been seeing. All of the manatees are gathered here. This morning we had more than 52 congregated in our outflow, and this is such an exciting time for our visitors because typically during manatee season, if it's not cold, they'll come, they'll see a couple swim by, you know, one here and there, but having a reliable way to see them and come and know that at any given moment during your visit you're going to see dozens of manatees, that is so exciting for them. And just to hear the visitors' enthusiasm and the moms that come with their kids and see them get excited, their eyes light up, it's just so heartwarming. In particular, because 2021 was such a challenging year for the manatees, we believe that this is so important for especially young children to come and to meet them and to learn what the next generation can do to protect these creatures, to help them in the wild, to support them, to learn the steps that they can take to keep these mammals safe, to keep these waters pristine and clean. It's so important. We can all do something to help, and here at Manatee Lagoon, you can come find out what those steps are. You can come meet them. You can be inspired by them. There's nothing like meeting a manatee up close in person. The magic of meeting a manatee is something that children can remember forever, and that's why our mission here is education and awareness and inspiring the next generation to come learn about the marine mammals.
So cool to show her the manatees and hopefully raise another generation saving the manatees.
Yesterday was particularly exciting with the manatee released by Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission. The manatee was rescued 1 year ago this week in the waters around Manatee Lagoon. They observed back then it was severely injured from a suspected boat strike. I mean, its back was really torn up. And when you see the photos, you are like, wow, boats can really do some serious damage to manatees. The manatee was rescued a year ago, taken to Miami Seaquarium where it was rehabilitated. They named it Lemur. And the juvenile manatee was deemed healthy enough to put back into the water. Typically what they'll do is they'll put the manatee back where it was rescued. Since it was rescued here at Manatee Lagoon, they were able to put it in the water. We happened to have a crowd of visitors that day because they knew that this was the time of the year to come see the sea cows, and it was so exciting for them. People cheered when the manatee went into the water, and it was exciting to see everybody be so enthusiastic about conservation in action. A couple of weeks ago, we had a rescue on site here, and what will happen is our staff will observe the manatees. We know the signs to look for to see if they're in distress, and we 2 weeks ago noticed a manatee that was in possible cold stress because it was breathing too frequently. You can see that typically manatees will do, every 2 to 3 minutes they'll come up, take a breath. That manatee was coming up like every 15 seconds. So our staff knew something was wrong. They immediately alerted FWC. FWC came, placed a net around it, and rescued it. What's happening today is we saw there was a manatee in distress that was swimming sideways, which is a potential boat strike. Sometimes if there's a punctured lung, its lungs will fill up with air and it can't dive down deep and it swims sideways. That's a problem because manatees need to be able to dive down to get to that seagrass on the bottom of the Lake Worth Lagoon. If they can't get to that seagrass, that becomes a problem. They can starve. So our staff kept an eye on it, but these are wild marine mammals. They're going to do what they want to do, and this marine mammal swam away. So we've been eagerly looking for this manatee. Everybody's got their eyes out. FWC's got their boat of marine partners out there with them looking for it. So they're observing, hoping to find this manatee in distress because it needs help. It needs to be rescued. So we're keeping our fingers crossed and hoping that they can rescue it and take it to be rehabilitated. Our name is Manatee Lagoon. People come here and they love the manatees, they want to see them. But one thing we also know is that during the warmer months, we may not have manatees here. So we're always looking for ways to keep the people who come here engaged, to keep visitors excited, to inspire them at any time of year, whether a manatee's here or not. So what we did is this year, we've really tried to put in exhibits and new attractions, things that people can do, things that are enjoyable for kids. We have a new 3D augmented reality solar exhibit where kids can scan the QR code and meet Sunny the Junior Solar Tree under our solar trees out front. Within our facility, we have a new virtual visit, a new self-guided tour option where people can come at their own convenience at any time of the day. They can scan the QR codes on the signs, learn about ways to protect manatees, learn facts about manatees, learn about their biology, and the videos are fun. They're very high energy, sound effects, TikTok style, keep those young people engaged and learning as they're doing it. We like to call it infotainment because we know that in order to inspire future generations, you have to make them really care. You have to make them passionate about the subject material. And manatees, they're really charismatic megafauna. That's a fun scientific term. It's a way to say people love them. However, if you come during the summer and you don't see a manatee, this is a way that you can learn about them and still be inspired by them. One thing that's truly amazing about the Palm Beaches is that we have such a marine biodiversity. The Lake Worth Lagoon as an estuary is truly fantastic to not only see manatees, but to see all kinds of creatures like sea turtles, eels, octopus, spotted eagle stingrays swim by here all the time. One thing that's also special about Manatee Lagoon is even if you don't see a manatee, you're bound to see something in the water. It's almost like a living aquarium of wild marine aquatic creatures. For example, on a given day during the summer, you can see 18 spotted eagle rays swim by. You can see nurse sharks, you can see bull sharks, you can see angelfish, you can see everything. And it's so spectacular to have this facility right on the water, up against not only a wonderful place for manatees to come with a natural seagrass bed around the area in the Lake Worth Lagoon, but also to have the Gulf Stream coming through Palm Beach County. Palm Beach County is the closest landmass to the Gulf Stream, which is that wonderful current that brings all kinds of marine mammals here. And having the marine life come close to Manatee Lagoon allows our visitors to see it up close firsthand. There are people who may never want to get in the water and scuba dive and snorkel, yet here at Manatee Lagoon, they can see all kinds of fish and sea life that they would normally have to go deep dive down to see. That's why we love having this facility right here, because it allows our visitors to visit for free, to see the marine biodiversity, and to be inspired to learn more, to protect them, and to really preserve the habitat that they have in the wild and our wonderful natural environment. It's a really special thing to visit Manatee Lagoon, so we hope that you add it to your itinerary when you're in the Palm Beaches. We're in Riviera Beach and we're open 7 days a week during manatee season. I invite you to come, experience it for yourself. There's nothing like being here in person and having fun and learning about the environment.
I think it's just so cool because you read about them and how endangered they are, and it's cool to see, especially on these cold days, that they come into these little lagoons for warmth, and everyone, all the tourists gets to see them in mass quantities. This is probably the most I've seen in one location, so it's really cool to see. We love manatees and we love the Palm Beaches.
The Wild Palm Beaches is brought to you by Discover the Palm Beaches.
Well, it's a beautiful winter's day here in the Palm Beaches, and I'm with Rachel, who's the Conservation and Education Liaison at Manatee Lagoon. And they have just released a manatee here today. Rachel, tell us a little bit about this manatee that you've released.
Absolutely. This manatee's name is Lemur, and he was caught here at Manatee Lagoon about a year ago, January 15th of 2021. Because of a severe boat strike on his side. So he needed to be rehabilitated, and he was taken to the Miami Seaquarium, where they took great care of him, rehabilitated him, and released him right back into our clean warm water discharge where he was captured.
Oh, that's great news. And will you be tracking him and monitoring him over the years? Him or her?
Yes, yeah, indeed. So here at Manatee Lagoon, we are not actively doing the tracking, but we do get that information from those entities who do. So the Clearwater Marine Aquarium did put a satellite tag, a tracker, on Lemur, the manatee that we released today, and will be tracking his whereabouts.
And they do migrate, right? So they're quite site faithful. They'll come back to the same site year upon year, but they'll also migrate up and down the coast, correct?
Exactly. So manatee calves will learn from their mothers everything they need to know, such as where to find warm water sites, where to find food, and where to find fresh water. So a lot of people don't realize that they do need to drink fresh water just like we do, and they will return year after year to a lot of those similar sites that they learn. But during the summer months, when the waters warm up, they do migrate, just as you mentioned. So during winter, they'll migrate to these clean warm water outflows or other natural warm water sites, and then in the summer months, they disperse throughout the coast of Florida.
And the relationship with humans and manatees between the two species, it's almost like a double-edged sword in this case, isn't it? Because here we've got a situation at the power plant where they're benefiting from the warm water produced by humankind, and then on the other hand, you've got manatees that are getting struck by boats. Tell us a little bit about that and the relationship that we have with manatees.
Yeah, we have definitely developed a very close relationship with these animals over the years in the form of our warm water discharges. So historically, before we had these power plants that were putting out this clean warm water, manatees would spend a lot of their time either in the more southern areas of Florida where the water temperatures don't drop quite as low, or in the freshwater springs. However, unfortunately, a lot of the springs have been developed and a lot of that natural habitat has been reduced over the years. And so these warm water outflows from power plants have become more and more important to these animals.
And if you had a message for the general public, what would it be in terms of manatee conservation? What can we do to make the lives of manatees better?
Education is definitely a top one. So teach your friends all about manatees. Definitely make sure, if you're lucky enough to have a boat or be out there on the water enjoying the day, make sure you wear polarized sunglasses to help you see through the water more, and obey all of the speed limits and any signs out there. So make sure you go slow, take your time, watch out for manatees, and enjoy your time on the water.
So one of the challenges that we've heard facing manatees today is the lack of food and seagrass for them to feed on. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how important it is for us to preserve our waterways and the quality of our water here in Florida?
Absolutely. So right now, one of the main threats facing the manatees, to the best of our knowledge, is the lack of seagrass. So manatees are herbivores and their main food source is seagrass. They'll eat up to about 10% of their body weight every day. And here in the Lake Worth Lagoon, we're fortunate that we do still have a pretty healthy population of seagrasses. However, in the Indian River Lagoon just north of here, the seagrasses are not doing as well, so there's not as much food for the manatees. And in the winter months, such as right now, they may have to choose between traveling farther to find food or staying where they are to stay warm. So they're having a bit of a hard time right now.
Well, it was great to see that release this morning, and how many people came to witness it was fantastic as well. Tell us a little bit about the challenges and what you guys went through actually releasing this manatee.
Yeah, so to release the animal, of course, we bring it from the Miami Seaquarium where this particular individual was rehabilitated. And the first thing we'll do is get it off the truck and take a few measurements. So we want to make sure we know how big the animal is, take pictures to know where any of its scars might be so that we could identify it later, and put on a satellite tracking tag onto this area called the peduncle, where the body kind of thins out and before the tail flares out, right there at the base of the tail. They'll wrap a belt around there and attach by a tether a satellite tracking tag. So you may see them out in the water. They are usually a white float with some sort of colored band on top and an antenna. So those are meant to be there. They are labeled manatee tag, and you definitely want to leave it alone if you do see that. If you're ever concerned, you can call Florida Fish and Wildlife and report it. They do like to know where those tags are, but just wanted to mention that. Please do leave those if you see them. They're really important. So once we got that tracking tag on the manatee, we brought the manatee onto the boat, came over to the outflow area of Manatee Lagoon where the warm water was coming out, and released that manatee into the water. So probably the hardest part of the process is just moving this large animal. So manatees can weigh over 2,000 pounds. This particular individual was not that heavy, it was a juvenile, but the hardest part is trying to get it onto the boat and then off the boat at the end.
It really is a beautiful winter's day here today in Palm Beach County, although it is a little bit chilly, and that in fact is one of the best times to come and see manatees here at Manatee Lagoon. When it is cold, these manatees will move up into the warmer water at the power plant. So what a fantastic day. Thank you for sharing your expertise with us, and good luck to Lima, the manatee that's been released.
Thank you so much.
If any of you watching are coming down to the Palm Beaches during winter, as so many people do, come down to Manatee Lagoon. It's a major part of the wild Palm Beaches. The Wild Palm Beaches is brought to you by Discover the Palm Beaches.
I'm Ben Hicks, an underwater nature photographer based in the Palm Beaches, and this is The Art of Nature.
You're watching The Wild Palm Beaches, and this is The Art of Nature, where we feature local photographers and artists who are inspired by the beautiful scenery and wildlife surrounding us in the Palm Beaches.
As an underwater nature photographer in the Palm Beaches, manatees have been one of my focus over the past 10 years. They are truly gentle giants. Manatees call the Palm Beaches home, and one of my goals is to help protect them. One of my most favorite things about manatees is their curiosity. When I'm in the water, a lot of times they'll come right up to my lens, almost kissing it. At that moment, you feel almost inhuman. They are huge, over 1,000 pounds, and right up against my mask. Some of my most well-known manatee photos are the ones that are up close to me. Their faces, their curiosity, a lot of that comes out in the images. And so I strive to continuously shoot the character of a manatee. Although manatees will approach you and come very close, checking you out, it's important not to reach out to them. As a photographer, I need to always keep that in mind. So my challenge is to keep my distance, but at the same time, let them come as close as they want and be able to get that shot. A manatee is a unique creature. Their nickname is the sea cow, and in fact, they pretty much are a cow in the water. There's not many places around the world that you can see a manatee. In the Palm Beaches, there's many opportunities. In constant search of seagrass, manatees glide through the water along the Palm Beaches. Manatees are one of my favorite subjects to photograph, and they are a big part of the wild Palm Beaches.
The Wild Palm Beaches is brought to you by Discover the Palm Beaches.
Hey, I'm Benji.
I'm Jada.
And it's time to get wild in the Palm Beaches. Hey everybody, I'm Benji Studt with Palm Beach County's Environmental Resources Management. I'm here with Jada.
Hi.
And Amy Kite, who's the Executive Director of Bush Wildlife Sanctuary. So Bush Wildlife, this is kind of like one of the pillars of the community as far as nature goes.
I'll take it, thank you.
So thank you so much for inviting us over. Today I'm really excited because we're gonna get a behind the scenes tour of really the mission of Bush Wildlife. Certainly it's education with all the resident animals here, but today we're at the hospital, and this is where you guys do the real work of rehabilitating animals. So can you tell us kind of a little bit of what we're in for today?
Yeah, absolutely. So Bush Wildlife Sanctuary started, and it's still our primary mission as a wildlife hospital. So our goal is to take in sick, injured, and orphaned wild animals. The focus is really on those native to Florida here, and get them better and get them back out in the wild again. And we're up to about 6,000 patients a year that we're seeing.
Wow.
Every year it goes up. It's gone up 25% in the past 3 years.
Wow.
So, you know, you've got the influx of people moving into the county. You've got all this development that's going on, and we really feel that's a factor. And that's where education comes in. Most of these animals are here because of humans. And so that's why if we can educate the humans, hopefully some point we can start bringing that intake number down. We get so many of these in every year. In fact, possum is the #1 species of animal we get in.
Oh, wow.
And most of them are babies like these that come into us because mom gets hit by a car. And being a marsupial, the babies are with mom. So what we think might be just one animal coming in turns out to be 12 or 14 coming in because you have a mom and then you have all her babies in her pouch as well. For the little ones that are orphaned, what we use is actually non-toxic paint. And we'll put a little bit of paint on their ear so that we can tell them apart. So you'll have the red one, the blue one, the yellow one, and they all get weighed daily to make sure that they're gaining weight as they're here. And also too, if anybody has an issue, like the blue possum's limping today, let's keep an eye on it, something like that. But we get so many of them in. And those guys, believe it or not, are not too far off from being released back out into the wild again.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, when they leave mom, naturally, they're only about 5 to 7 inches long. So like the palm of your hand. They're very, very small. So we get a lot of people who bring us ones who have just left mom. And of course, the humans think, oh my gosh, this poor baby, when really they're just fine. So it's a great way to educate people when they come in, what to leave alone, when to intervene, all that kind of good stuff. There you go. He's like, okay, ready for another bite? There you go. Nice. He's like, more please. This is Earl the flying squirrel. And Earl is actually a permanent resident of Bush Wildlife Sanctuary. And you can see his little face poking out there. I have to get a little closer there so he can, oh. Earl.
All right, so Amy, tell me where we are right now. That's what's behind all of this, these fake leaves that we got here.
So this is our flight aviary back here. And we don't really want the public peeking in here because these are the birds that we're getting ready to go back out in the wild again.
Right, so these birds that you're rehabbing for release are very different from the residents here, right?
Absolutely.
Because during that rehabilitation phase, one of the main things is we've got to keep them wild.
Yes.
And so they're all isolated from all the visitors here, right?
Yes.
And why is that so important?
Well, we want to make sure that when we release these birds, not only do they have what they need to function out in the wild, we also want to make sure that they aren't going to go up to people thinking that that's an ally of theirs. So even though we take care of them, we feed them, we still want them to have a good, healthy sense of fear of us. And getting out in the wild, they're not going to look to people when they want something to eat or anything like that.
Right, so these owls that we're going to be releasing today, they went through the rehab process, they came into the flight cage. What is like the final tests that they have to pass in here in order to be candidates for release?
So we want to make sure that they're flying well. And what I mean by that is they can go a distance, they can navigate, they can kind of hook, bank, change directions easily. Obviously they can hit targets so that they can grab a perch in flight. We also want to make sure that they're eating well on their own before we're going to let them go back out.
Okay, so you do all those tests and monitor them in here to make sure that they've got the best chance at being successful.
And of course, too, we want to make sure when we come in that they're not approaching us as well.
Right.
You know, when they see us, either their goal is to stay as far away or to get further away from us. So we want to make sure that as well. What's going to be really, really cool is when we move to our new location, we're going to have more flight enclosures, it's going to be larger, and we have the luxury, because we have so much space, of actually moving it further away from just all of the sounds and everything that our current facility doesn't allow us to do.
Okay, great. Well, so we've got the owls caged up. The wonderful staff here at Bush has got them ready to go. So next stop, Cypress Creek Natural Area, right?
Let's do it.
All right, let's go. So these animals, they span all over the Americas, South America, all the way into the Arctic. And what makes them so ubiquitous, what makes them able to survive from deserts to Arctic forests is all these adaptations. Their feathers are made so they can fly silently. These eyes, these beautiful golden eyes, are fixed in their skull, which gives them incredible vision. To look side to side, they can turn their head more than 180 degrees around because they can't move their eyes. And then these feathers that make this facial disc help funnel sound to their ears, so they have incredible hearing. And then the last thing is these crazy talons on this bird. So great horned owls have one of the strongest talon pressures in the bird world, and that allows this animal to take prey as small as dragonflies and scorpions and lizards, all the way up to even striped skunks and even red-tailed hawks, prey that is even bigger than themselves. All right, Jada, you ready to give this bird a second chance at life?
I am.
All right, ready? One,
two,
three. Wow.
Does it get any wilder than that?